Good evening and welcome to Views with Joyce Waddell. I want to thank you for joining us this evening. We have a very interesting program for you. We're going to be talking about health and how it's so important that we are healthy, because what we do when we're healthy makes a lot of difference in how we feel, how we perceive a life, and how happy we are. So we must be healthy. Children in school must be healthy and must feel healthy. If they don't feel healthy, it's difficult to learn. They're feeling sad. It's not only a physical health, but there's depression and the emotional health. So we're going to be talking today about health as we talk to Dr. Addie Strand. And she's going to tell us about something that she's embarked upon, the difference that she's made in the lives of many young people. Welcome, Dr. Strand.
Thank you.
Dr. Strand, you started something that no one else has been able to do, because you started out of college. You saw a need.
Yes, ma'am.
And you picked up on that need.
Yes, ma'am.
And oftentimes when people see something that needs to be done, they don't say anything. They complain. But you didn't complain. You stepped forward and made it happen.
Yes, ma'am.
And now you have 3 different jobs, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
What are your 3 jobs?
My first job is the owner and director of a business, GIC of Charlotte Incorporated. It is a healthcare agency off of Batesford Road. This healthcare agency was the transition point for the students in my class. The students with severe and profound disabilities exited with nowhere to go. Many times they're not able to get a job because they lack the independent level of skills. They're not able to go to college because they lack the intellectual ability. So I talked to my pastor, and my pastor, Wilson Heights First Church of God, Pastor Atkinson, allowed me to rent my church Monday through Friday, and I operate an adult daycare there Monday through Friday. In addition to that, I teach at Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools at Garinger High School, and I'm also the director of distance education for New Life Theological Seminary.
So you have 3 jobs in one.
3 jobs in one, yes, ma'am,
And
but separate.
And you do healthcare for Theological Seminary?
No, I do adjunct professor for New Life Theological Seminary. I am the director of distance education over there.
And what do you teach?
I teach computer concepts.
Oh, okay. So there's never a dull moment in your life?
No, ma'am.
You're always busy?
Always busy.
So when they talk about teachers with 3 jobs, you're one of those, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Because in addition to teaching, you have 2 additional jobs.
Yes, I do. I started a healthcare agency, but my passion is in the classroom teaching, and so I just love to be in the classroom. So I still work in the classroom as a special education teacher, and then part-time I work for New Life Theological, but my main job is this business, GIC of Charlotte.
Now, this was a divine intervention. It was something spiritual about it, something about God speaking to you to move forward, because many people saw the needs, but they didn't do anything, did they?
No.
And so your pastor, you connected with your pastor. Your pastor saw the need.
Yes. Yes. So I was going to this church since a little girl, and the newest pastor that we had, Pastor Cornelius Atkinson, knew that I was a teacher. I came to him and told him the plight that I was having, that these students that I was working with in my classroom had come to me at age 14, and they stay until age 21 with me as their teacher. So that was 8 years I had grown to love them. And so now when it was time for them to go from student life into adult life, they needed a transition place. And many times without the correct funding source or the correct transition plan, you exit with the gap in service, sitting at home, nowhere to go. And so after talking to my pastor and explaining to him this gap in services or this need that I wanted to fulfill, I now have some of the same students who were in my classroom at this adult day program 13 years later.
And so they've grown to love you.
Yes, ma'am.
And to know you.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
So you all are just like family now.
Yes, ma'am.
So moving forward, when they come to you now, when they come to you now, do they graduate from high school?
Yes, these are adult services. So they have turned 21 and they are now into adult services and now have to apply for funding. You apply for funding, usually it's just Medicaid, and then you're able to have adult services and go to a day activity program.
And so that's what they do?
Yes.
So a bus picks them up from Garage and bring them to you?
No, not Garage anymore, because this is outside of the school. So they pick them up from their home and bring them to the day program.
So they've graduated from high school?
Yes.
So this is the kind of thing that they had in Metro at one time, didn't they?
Metro was the high school or the classroom setting, and then after that they would leave and go into adult services. I'm not sure if they had a day program there, but I know Lifespan did. Had something.
So some of them went to Lifespan when they
Yes.
they graduated from high school.
Right.
And then they had nothing else to do.
Some of them, yes.
Now, do you also do vocational training so that you give them a skill? Is that a part of what you do?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to branch out now with Medicaid to offer a more vocational instead of habilitational setting for the students who are able to get a job, those who are able to work. So I am applying for a vocational aspect, so it'll be an adult vocational day placement, being able to look for a job, working on resumes and job skills like that.
So when they leave, when they graduate from high school and they're at home, and then they apply to come to your services.
Yes.
And what do you do with them? You keep them as a...
Yes, during the day we have an exciting program. We have Movie Monday, Taste Test Tuesday, Game Day Wednesday, Fine Arts Thursday, Field Trip Friday. We have people to come in, we do spas, massages. We have a day full of fun.
And you have 53 employees.
53 employees, because over the years we have found that in addition to this day support, there are other services that we could provide as well, like giving the parents a break, respite, or going into the home and helping them do some type of personal care, or taking them out in the community on the weekends. So over the 13 years, I've gathered a list of services that GIC offers.
To the same group of students. So when do they...
More.
Well, when do they transition away from you and become totally independent?
Well, we are a lifetime service, meaning we hold their hand. As a matter of fact, 2 of the adults that graduated from high school, they also moved into a home, 3-bedroom home. They've been living there 13 years. During the day, they go to the adult day program. On the weekends, they go home to see their parents. And this is their form of independence, being a productive adult, living in the community on their own.
And so who takes care of them while they're living in this 3-bedroom house? Is it 2 people sharing the house?
It is. It's a living care provider.
Our living care provider is there with them.
Yes.
So it's sort of like a...
alternative family living. Some people used to call it a group home, but it's not such a big setting. It's in the community.
It's sort of like a group home.
Sort of like a group home.
But you have an adult who lives there with them.
2 adults, and 2 adults with disabilities, and 1 adult as a care provider or a live-in care provider position.
And that's a job for that 1 adult all the time?
Yes.
Is this new to this community?
No, ma'am, it is not. The community, the CAP program, Community Alternatives Program.
That's through the health department.
That is through the health department, is where I began my start. The Community Alternative Program is an alternative to institutions. So this funding source gives adults and children with disabilities an alternative to the institution, de-institutionalization.
That's not the same thing as students who would be, or young people who would be at Dorothy Dix, is it?
No, the people at Dorothy Dix may have a little bit more mental ailments and need to be bound to an institution. This particular service is straight from high school into adult in the community.
Well, what with the cutback on Medicaid, did that not affect the services here?
Yes, it did. With some of the changes, we had some budget cuts. We had some areas of funding that were cut. GIC took the cut instead of having our employee or independent contractor take the cut. We took many of the decrease in pay ourselves because we want to provide a service and we don't want to lose anyone.
So the funding, the state is the one that cut back on your Medicaid, right?
Yes.
So that cut back on some services, but it didn't cut back on what you were doing.
No, ma'am, it did not. We kept pressing by the grace of God.
And you're still going on.
Wilson Heights, First Church of God.
Artists, we'll continue to talk with Dr. Strand as we talk about the church, the Charlotte Fun Loving Care that she provides, Growing Care.
Yes.
It's her agency that she provides, and how she's a teacher. Not only a teacher, she has 2 additional jobs but teaching is her first love. And it's what she loves doing more than anything else. So regardless of what else she does, she's going to stick with teaching.
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I did meet you, Dr. Waddell, at the National Board Certification. I pursued it in 2011. I got it in 2013, and you were there at the celebration in 2014. So thank you for your participation.
Absolutely. I was there to congratulate you, and
Yes.
I was so proud of you.
Thank you.
And the accomplishments, because I know what you have to go through to get it.
That was hard work.
So even though you don't get a raise, that you get a raise for that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that's a 12%, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, if I'm not mistaken.
So that's a raise
Yes, ma'am.
in a different kind of way.
Yes, ma'am. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of work.
But it was enjoyable.
But it was worth it, and it taught me a lot about the teaching practice. Yes, ma'am.
And so you don't have to renew it to the next 4 years, right?
4 years.
But the 12% helps tremendously, doesn't it?
Absolutely it does, because what I want to do is pour back into the students that are currently in my class. So I offer a lot of incentives, a lot of rewards, and I want to just be able to give freely so the students can be empowered to learn and have fun while they're learning.
Audience, we'll continue to talk about growing in care and how teachers provide some important services, even 3 jobs. Still, the love for teaching is always there,
Yes,
and the
ma'am.
love for students and the things that you do to help students to move forward and to be successful as they grow from adolescence to adulthood.
Yes, ma'am.
And not only that, this teacher goes the extra mile of the way by making certain that students, when they graduate, they still have a place that provides love and care, experiences, and help for them so that they can transition to adulthood.
Yes.
And so at the school where you have these students, most of yours are there, but you also oversee those who are in the community, right?
Absolutely. They do have what they call day support individual, where a consumer and maybe a job coach or a day habilitation technician is the term. We go out in the community, may go to the Y, may go to the library. We may go to, depending on the needs, where we go in the community. Sometimes we even go to Salvation Army or the clothes closet and do work there.
Oh, so they have other jobs.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is not like custodial care. It's more than that.
Yes, ma'am, it is. It's more than that. We are doing an habilitational service, making sure that they keep the skills and the things that they learned in high school, make sure that they keep those things going, the things that they need as an adult to be active in the community and be productive.
Now, do they get married, some of them?
I've never seen an instance where they've gotten married, but I would love to see that.
None of these adults get married?
No, ma'am, I haven't seen it, but I do think it's possible.
Over 14 years?
Over 14 years.
And they're in their 20s and 30s?
26 and 30s, yes.
Oh. And they're men and women, right?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Waddell, we lack the, we're severe and profound mentally challenged, and so we lack the cognition to be able to hold through with the marriage and the compromise and all the things involved with that. But I do believe that depending on the consumer and their level of functioning, that yes, they're able to find someone special and get married one day, God willing.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to ask the camera if they would pick up the pictures, if you would turn it around just a little bit so that they can see, and you can talk about what we see happening.
Thank you. GIC of Charlotte originally stand for God in Control. Over the years, the GIC has transformed into Growing in Care, because that's what we have done. We have gone from 2 consumers, 13 consumers, to now 53 independent contractors taking care of these special people. We go out in the community, and here we are in June, and July, in August. We go out in the community in the summer, and we do programs, and we did the garden down with here at the City of Charlotte. We did the garden project.
Is that the garden right there?
Yes, it is.
Which garden were you?
We were at the garden, I can't think of the name, let me see.
Well, there are a lot of gardens going on, because there's one that's starting up on Batesford Road now.
Yes, it is. It is, but we were actually at the one downtown, the garden that they started. We were invited to come and participate. It was through the area mental health.
So all of these students participated in
Yes,
in
we
planning.
did. Yes, we did. In addition to that, we have
You have a lot of energy.
we have a lot of energy. Yes, ma'am.
And then you're up here at something you're doing that fun right there with your students.
Yes, we go to the mall. We go to plays. We go to the.
Now, do you have the behavior problems with?
Some consumers, yes, ma'am. So it takes a special person to work with someone who's aggressive or maybe going through an issue and acting out. And so it takes a real special person. I'm so happy and delighted and pleased and grateful for the group of people I work with. It takes a special heart.
And you have to have a special heart in order to work with that population.
Yes, ma'am, you do. And it is kind of a family business. My aunt, Sandra Gray, runs the business for me while I'm at work. Again, my passion is teaching, so I pull together my family, my two brothers. We all go to Wilson Heights. My two brother works for me. They work with GIC. Cousins, I have cousins.
And those are your consumers right there in the,
Yes.
in the second picture where you took them on a field trip.
Yes, ma'am. And here we are out in the community. Here we are working inside the day program. We work on music. We just have a good time.
Now, what would happen to these children had you not? You got to fold that part of it, that one, this one. So there you go. Now turn it back the other way. This, yeah, that, yeah. What would happen to these children, these young adults, had you not taken them in?
Many times the gap in services, Dr. Waddell would lead them at home with nothing to do, nowhere to go, no job to go to.
What would they be doing during the day?
Drooling, watching TV, just going back into old behaviors. Or one of the other options.
They wouldn't be going in the community and getting in trouble, would they?
Maybe. And in addition to that, what it leaves the parents to do is, while you're in school, that's a hours 7 to 5 that you can work. But when your child graduates, even if they have a disability, when your baby graduates and they don't have a place to go, I mean, many times parents were having to quit their jobs or try to find some type of way to provide this day support. And then when I was looking as a teacher and I was looking for my classroom, my students somewhere to go, I found that they would be 21 and the day program participants would be in the 60s and 70s, 80s. It's like the old folks group home.
I thought that was a good thing because the young people could learn from the seniors. The 21-year-olds can learn from the 80-year-olds, can't they?
We want to be with our peers and we don't want to seem too old before our time.
Audience, we're going to take a short break right now and reflect back on some music that was here earlier. And then we're going to come back and talk about how the intervention from God is upon all of us. And this is what happened to help Dr. Strange to see a difference, a way of helping people. And we all can help in some way.
I mean, our God is incredible. Sometimes you can't find a word, but incredible means he's just so good that it's hard to believe that the God of the universe would even be bothered with us, but he is. And we just want to brag on him right now. Is that all right? Grace that's amazing, a name worth praising. Your love leaves me gazing. It's incredible. The price that you paid, the sacrifices that you made, all for my soul to save. All I can say is incredible. 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 All I can say is incredible. How you make me feel. Let me know you're real. All I can say is incredible. Incredible. The way that you sought me, your blood that bought me, the work you wrought in me is incredible. Your joy that makes me smile and wanna go that extra mile, even change my whole lifestyle. All I can say is incredible. Woo! Incredible. All I can say is incredible. Incredible. What you do to me, incredible. How you set me free, incredible. Your mercy, oh Lord, is unbelievable. Your faithfulness is undeniable. So when I think of who you are and what you've done, all I can say,
All I can say is
you're
incredible.
so incredible,
Incredible.
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 All I can
All I can
say
say
is incredible.
Incredible.
Who can hold me like you do? Who can love me like you do? You're incredible, incredible, incredible.
Incredible.
I love to give you praise. I love to bless your name. You're incredible, incredible, incredible. So come on and bless the Lord with me. Let us magnify His name together. Our God is not only incredible, but He's a present help in the time of need. Blessed be the name of our God.
Incredible. You're incredible.
Artists, we're continuing to talk with Dr. Strand as we talk about helping people and making a difference in people's lives, and how sometimes God speaks to you and you must listen. That was a ministry for you, wasn't it?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
It was God's divine intervention telling you to move forward, wasn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that what you do when you teach? You teach in a theological seminary, right?
I do, yes, ma'am. I teach an online course, Computer Concepts, and it takes it takes God to allow me to see that teachable moment when it's the opportunity for me to take anything and turn it into a teachable moment.
Do you ever see the people that you're teaching?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
I do.
They come and meet with you maybe at the theological seminary?
They do. It's a blended course sometimes. Sometimes I don't get to see them. It depends on whether the course is totally online or whether it's blended, whether we get to come into the seminary once a week and meet or not.
Okay. Now, your divine intervention here in the work that you do, because the persons that you work with are mentally challenged, aren't they?
Yes, ma'am.
And sometimes they don't know the difference between reality and fantasy.
Yes, ma'am. The cognition is quite low on some levels of mental retardation and developmental disabilities.
And they were born that way.
Yes, ma'am. No fault of their own. It's how they were born.
And so for parents, that is a challenge.
Absolutely. And to be able to provide some support and help for the parents, that's where God's hand was speaking to me. That's where His hand was laid upon my life. I was able to grow to love my parents and want to help them as well. Leave the classroom and have them be productive adult, walk across that stage with somewhere to go after the feeling of turning 21 and exiting high school.
Now, did many of them do they go to Goodwill or Nivens Center, any of them?
Yes, we do. We do go there and volunteer, and we fold clothes, and we do help for the crisis ministry.
These same students.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the same? This is not the same kind of program that Goodwill has.
No, ma'am, it isn't. Goodwill has a vocational program as well. So does Voc Rehabilitation. So does
There are other
Lifespan.
agencies, but nobody's doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I believe there's some other agencies doing day support. Individual, I believe there are some other agencies.
But you saw a need for this, and
Yes.
this is where your ministry comes in.
Yes,
And ministry
absolutely.
is not always in a pulpit, is it?
No, it is not. It's out in the community. It's worldwide.
And so this is part of the ministry because you are in the church, and the church is helping.
Yes, the church is absolutely helping. Monday through Friday, we're able to rent the facility, and we used to have to pack up, but our church is building a new edifice at this time off of B Avenue. And so with our new building coming up, we don't have to move anymore. We're now worshiping at West Charlotte on Sundays. So my business, GIC of Charlotte, stays at 2137, and we don't have to pack up.
You worshiping at West Charlotte High School?
Yes, on Sundays,
Every Sunday.
every Sunday.
And so now this is where you are.
Yes.
And this is your ministry.
Yes, yes.
So as you move forward, you're helping people and as well as providing a ministry for them.
Yes, ma'am. And it's been a great benefit to the church. It's been a great benefit to my family. It's been a great benefit to the parents and the even if you have a foster child or a child that's not yours, you still need a break. So being able to come and give that respite and give that personal care is always a nice joy.
So when they give the respite, they go to the home.
They go to the home. Sometimes they take them out the home in the community, take them to their home, give the parents a break, 2 or 3 days sometimes, a couple of hours, just depends.
Have you found out that this often runs in the same family, the same kind of disability?
Yes, it is genetic. I have found that to be so.
And so some parents will have 2 or 3 children like that.
Yes, ma'am, unfortunately, or even the parent themselves may have some cognition issues.
And it's almost inherited.
Almost in some cases.
Have you seen instances where it's not something that's inherited?
Yes, I have. I have seen instances where something may have happened at birth, umbilical cord or lack of oxygen. Something may have happened where something happened to the development and not the genetic part of it.
But rarely do you see it manifesting itself with normal people through a period of time.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
It just doesn't happen.
It's usually the population I serve, they were born with it. Yes, ma'am.
But when do parents normally know that?
Usually at the prediction of at birth, usually a couple of months, you could see some traits, not walking at the right or developing at the right speech level at the right time. Usually when you have those pediatric visits to the doctor, you'll be able to see, and you do the growth chart, you'll be able to see some stagnation in some areas, and you could get help early. Sometimes it takes high school where you learn, or even middle school where you learn that you have some problem writing, and so you may have a learning disability versus a developmental disability. So it can come on at different onsets, different times.
But it normally has already manifested itself at birth.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you're doing such great work with them and such great work
Thank
with that
you.
population, and I'm certain that it's needed now, and that population will always be with us
Yes,
in
ma'am.
some way.
Yes, ma'am.
And so having them being functional in a place and not sitting at home
Yes, ma'am.
certainly is a gift to themselves.
Yes, what
well.
ended up happening, Dr. Waddell, is just recently we were able to expand this day service into home support. So we go into the elderly's home, not just necessarily this day activity. We do home health through Medicaid. So this business has branched out. So people like my grandmother, the elders in the church, were able to go in and provide through Medicaid a home health opportunity or sitting position, help them with the personal care. So outside of these type of disabilities, the elderly, the geriatric population, we've been helping as well.
Oh, thank you, and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And audience, I want to thank you too for being with us on Views with Joyce Waddell. I want you to tune in next week for another interesting program.